raise the next big question. The Bangalore ATM attack, is safety at ATMs a neglected issue? Joining me now, Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer and someone who's looked at security issues very closely. Also joining me, Ashwini Nachappa, she's member of the Bangalore Political Action Committee. Prakash Joshi, Chief Operating Officer of EPS CATMi.org, that looks at ATM functioning across the country. Mr. Joshi, let me ask you, how many ATMs, because I've been struggling all day to find out in this country how many ATMs at a percentage level actually have security guards outside, private security guards. Can you give us any sense of that?
See, it depends from bank to bank, Rajdeep. We can categorize in 3 banks. You know, there are certain banks which are smaller banks,
yes,
who have smaller number of ATMs. They have security across all the machines. Then there are bigger banks, who have security at certain locations. So if, let's say, if there is a high footfall location, they will have security, but other places they will not have. And there are certain banks who don't have security in any of those ATMs at all.
So basically, Mr. Joshi, what you're saying, it's a question of it's an economic question, because the cost of setting up an ATM is around, we are told, 5 lakhs to 6 lakhs. Monthly operating expenses, we are told, range from 10,000 to 50,000. So it all now comes, and cost of a security guard would be about 10,000 a month. Each guard paid about 300 per day, in keeping with prevailing labor laws. Are we therefore saying that banks, to cut costs or to maintain their the economy of having the economics of having ATMs, will not have security guards as a matter of rule?
Yeah, that is one of the things why banks don't have security guards. In fact, some of the banks have removed security guards. Earlier they had security guards, but because of cost pressures, they have removed the security guard. Another reason is, managing this security guard is not very easy. You deploy a security guard in locations. There are 2 types of locations. One is on-site location and one is off-site location. On-site location is a machine which is attached to the branch, and off-site is, like anywhere outside where there is no branch in the vicinity. Now, to monitor the security guys is very difficult. Whether the security guy reaches there on time, whether he is present there at all time, whether he is cleanly shaven, whether he wears a perfect uniform, or whether he goes out in between or does something else. So it is becoming very, very difficult for the banks to monitor that.
Can I, Mr. Joshi, just halt you there and take that to Kiran Bedi and then widen the debate? Kiran Bedi,
sure.
Here you are hearing someone who's an expert looking at ATMs saying that, in a sense, banks do not have an obligation, it appears, to have a security guard, and they take a decision based on the number of footfalls of people who come inside an ATM. Does that answer satisfy you? Do you believe there is a way out, or do you believe the economic, that there is you cannot police every little step of a big city like Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi or Calcutta or Madras?
The point is, even if you can't police, and policemen will never be able to match the growing needs, the community, the professions have to step in and take charge of and take responsibility for security. I think the bank and the ATM licenses should be subject to security considerations, security measures. Besides the camera, I think physical security is a must. But more than that, Rajdeep, Bangalore, I believe, has had 32 incidents in the year, I'm told, of which 28 were worked out, which means that 28 have been arrested. I also want to know, does the police keep track of those 28? Have they come out on bail? Because such crimes are repeated crimes, because they have to be oriented, they have got to be on a particular modus operandi. So out of 32, 28, how many of them are out on bail who may be still active? Now that's a policing measure.
Right.
Guard is a bank measure. The prevention of crime by past criminals is a policing measure. Third important thing is coordination. If 32 incidents have happened, what kind of coordination happened between police and the banks? Should they not understand the pattern of 32 crimes, and why is it happening, and what kind of joint measures the police and banks must do? I think these coordination measures, strategizing measures are missing, due to which people are left on their own and they all work in their own capacity, not in tandem, not in coordination, but by themselves. Now they are forming a committee. The point is, such crimes have a pattern, and therefore the affected agencies must learn to work together and strategize together.
You know, I just want to take that very point then to Ashwini Nachappa. As a citizen of Bangalore, as a prominent citizen, do you believe what happened yesterday, because it happened within 500 yards of a police station, suggests to you that something is horribly wrong with the way Bangalore functions? Or do you believe there's simply a lack of fear of the police, that an attacker can come in, even though this is the heart of Bangalore, 7:30 a.m. in the morning, 500 yards from a police station? Is that what troubles you? Or is it simply that banks today are saying, look, we have no obligation to provide a security guard?
I think, Rajdeep, there is no fear of law. I think that is what we're seeing in so many incidents. There's over 30 incidents that's taken place. I mean, crime, you open the newspaper, you whiz past all the channels, everybody is talking about some crime or the other. Our laws have to be mended, because these guys, just a simple example, there was a robbery right in front of our house a couple of years ago, and a few months later the police comes with these guys who have actually stolen from the house, and they're showing all the houses that they have actually robbed. And when you question them, say, we come out on bail very often and this is our job.
So
this is exactly the way things are happening. I mean, it is scary. And what happened yesterday is absolutely chilling. I would never want to enter an ATM. I pass by an ATM every morning to go for yoga, and the guard is sleeping all the time.
You know, I'm coming back to that, Mr. Joshi. You know, surely banks have a responsibility. The ATM business is a growing business. When you are growing the business,
right, yeah.
Surely you need to also look at aspects of security. I mean, you can't, you know, today you cannot have banks, as they are saying at the moment, and you are also very candidly admitting, saying that at one level this is about the economic bottom line. Doesn't the security of the citizen who goes into an ATM matter, which demands necessarily having a proper guarded ATM?
Absolutely, Rajdeep. In my opinion, they should provide security guard at each and every site, whether it is a branch site or even if it is off-site.
Yes.
There has to be a security guard. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, in this country, everything works, when it is forced on you. So, it should be made as a compliance thing for all the banks, so that bank will definitely have security guard at each location.
So you're saying that you are open to the idea. You believe the time has come that if you are going to give a bank a license, part of the licensing, or if you are giving the bank a license to set up an ATM in a particular area, part of the deal is that you have to provide security, not just a CCTV camera.
I think so. That's the way it should be. Looking at the way things are happening today, I think that's the only way.
You know, the problem,
because
though, of course.
Today we have.
Yes, go ahead.
See, today we have about 150,000 ATMs,
right.
And a country like India needs at least 300,000 machines. So we are halfway through, and we are still halfway to go. And the ATMs are now going to go to remote areas, the areas where the cities are expanding, and there will be more remote areas. So
right.
if there are no security guards at those places, it could be a problem.
Yes, Ashwini, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, I was saying, along with the licenses that the RBI gives, I think it's also important that there is coordination with the police department of the local areas, and they need to certify whether installing an ATM at that respective place is safe enough or not. And if it is not, I mean, the police don't even know half the time. This is done by the bank, and whichever premises that they have installed in, either the premises owner or the banker should be responsible, along with informing the police. You can't dump everything to the government and everything to the policemen. There has to be collective responsibility.
You know, collective responsibility, do you believe that, Kiran Bedi, is the answer? Do you believe that at the moment what we are seeing is the familiar Indian game of passing the buck between the banks and the police? This incident takes place within 500 yards of the police station. Is the police the primary, is the police to be held accountable? Is the bank under whose jurisdiction this ATM has been built primarily responsible? Who is responsible? Does the citizen of Bangalore today hold responsible for the fact that a young woman is fighting for her life because she's been attacked brutally inside an ATM?
In this case, if you pick up this case, then it is a joint responsibility. Police had its own role and the banks had their own role and policy making had its own role. So license condition was critical, so it's a policy failure. The banks not deploying security is a bank failure. And if the guard is sleeping, it's a bank failure. And the policing not analyzing and strategizing crime in cooperation with the community is a police failure. And also not keeping tab of who could have been released to prevent crime is a police failure. I think this is how it's collective. Unless there is a collective community policing habit as a pattern, I think police is falling short of keeping pace with human resource management, analysis of crime, and I think strategizing and follow-ups. Supposing they decide on a particular policy, there is no follow-up. If they've set up a committee decided to do the following, who follows up? And there is no accountability on the follow-up. I think these are the management, leadership, coordinating practices which are missing, due to which ordinary citizen is a victim.
Are you saying, Dr. Bedi, that what generally happens is that the police officer on the beat or at the police station believes the ATM is the responsibility of the bank, so he's not going to coordinate with the bank. The bank in turn has at times, some would say, a rather lackadaisical attitude towards the entire issue of security. They believe CCTV laga diya, enough. Are you saying what you need is the banks and the police, local police, to work closely together? Some kind of community policing that you always talk about.
Absolutely, the community policing is missing. I think the policing should be meeting jewelers regularly, market associations regularly, bankers regularly, the resident welfare associations regularly. Once you continue to regularly meet, this is community policing all about. And all these issues, the crime patterns will be discussed, prevention measures to be placed, who is falling behind in implementing crime preventions, all these. Now this is preventive policing and community policing, but these models have not evolved, including the beat system. The beat officer continuing to be in touch, looking at whether the chowkidar is active, etc. I think these are the measures to be in step with policing. You can't have a police beatman everywhere, but you can have management practices which synergize and coordinate, and that is how you provide maximum prevention.
You know, Mr. Joshi, I was speaking to a banker earlier while trying to understand this issue, and this is what he told me, and I want you to tell me whether he's right when he says this. While bankers agree that ATMs are an important branding tool, they are not really a profit center, and therefore they are a neglected aspect of the entire banking apparatus. Would that be fair to say in a country like India today, that the ATMs are not seen as profit centers by most of our banks? They are purely a branding tool?
Not really, Rajdeep. There are many banks, who are, basically they are able to divert the traffic in the branch to ATM, and some of the ATMs that we have are doing 18 to 20,000 transactions a month. So it's really huge, and it's a convenience for people, it's a convenience for bank, and for some of the banks maybe, because they have not issued enough cards, they don't have enough accounts in a particular area, so maybe their machines are not able to break even or make
because
profit.
The average, sir, sorry to interrupt, the average, national average for daily transactions per ATMs, I am told, stands at about 125 to 130 per day. If that is the case, do you think banks will invest in security at ATMs?
Yeah, actually, as I said, having a security could be a cost issue. And as I said earlier, banks had security guards, and because of cost pressure, they had removed those security guards. But it's not, whether you incur a cost or whether it's basically whether you incur a cost or to provide a security guard.
Okay.
Even at the branch level, you have a security guard, right? When you carry cash around, you have security guard. So, see what happens, Rajdeep, is, let's say there's a robbery. Now, there's an ATM that is, stolen or something. You can recover that loss. If there's insurance, the machine may be damaged, you can replace it. But something like, what happened in Bangalore happens, then there is, what is your brand value now? for
That's
a bank.
right. That,
You already
you're
lost
making
it,
an
right?
important point that banks need to realize that the brand value really lies with the security of the people who, in a sense, come to banks. They are the customer is your brand value. Ashwini Nachappa, as a Bangalorean today, there was
Absolutely.
I want to raise the question of a Bangalorean. It's one of my favorite cities. It was once seen as a pensioner's paradise. Could you have ever imagined that in this pensioners paradise of one time, today you've got a series of incidents. This is not the first, but a series of incidents of brutal attacks, many of them on women in particular. Does that trouble you as a Bangalorean also?
Well, the pensioner's paradise has become a pensioner's nightmare. I mean, you take every aspect from traffic to crime is just getting worse every day. We are not able to cope up with the growing city. There's a shortage of over 2,000 policemen, I've got to know. I mean, how are you going to take in this kind of, you can't be manning every locality, police for every house. It's impossible. I mean, this is something we need to do in coordination with all service providers. I mean, he said that, it doesn't function. I think it's very, very important. If it is not safe, they should not be given permission to open ATMs at all.
Right.
I think police needs to come in, the department needs to give them permission to see if it is safe enough. They need to coordinate with the local police in the area to set it up. Just like how you have a strong room in a branch. I mean, there are certain specifications.
Sure.
That needs to be taken care of. These are things that they really need to look into.
Let me give you therefore the final word, Kiran Bedi. Is the answer more policing, or is the answer as always simply better policing? That the real challenge, and this better policing, as you said, involves not just the men in khaki but also banks.
The answer is more responsible policing, smart policing, coordinated policing, community policing. I think these are all the aspects, and regular policing. I think which continue to evaluate, analyze, strategize, and use its human resource and technology in a better way. And that can happen only in consultation, in conjunction with the consumer, which is community.
Okay, let's leave it there at that point. I appreciate Kiran Bedi joining us along with Mr. Joshi and Ashwini Nachappa. It's an incident that has shocked all of us, and if this doesn't shock the banking system, then nothing else will in this country.